Okay, this video is coming out later than I originally intended, but I got really busy and I didn't really have a whole lot of time to film a video this week. But with the recent snowstorm trapping me inside and forcing me to telework today, I've got a few extra minutes, so I thought I'd knock out this video and just post it real quick. So, yeah, here it is. I haven't talked about TNA at all in 2014. I don't think I have anyway. There hasn't really been much to talk about. It's just sort of like we're expecting TNA to just die, so until that happens, nobody's really talking about it all that much. And it's really sad because that is really the vibe that's going on right now, especially since AJ left. Once that happened, it was kind of a bad indicator that not all is good in TNA, and I think all of the goodwill and trust and hope and faith that TNA would get good, it's all gone now. And that's pretty much the state of the company. You're just sort of waiting for them to die. And it kind of reflects in their product. Not that their product is the worst it's ever been, but it isn't good, and it's not very watchable. It's just devoid of energy. The show just has no life to it, and I'm not really buying Magnus as world champion. I don't buy Samoa Joe as the #1 contender because, and again, it's not his fault. It's just that they've done so little with him, and he's been so directionless for the last 5 years or so that to make him #1 contender now just feels like it's too little too late. You've already buried him and rendered him and you've rendered him useless and devalued him so much that it's hard to take him seriously as #1 contender. And Magnus is sort of a guy that, again, I'm not saying he's untalented or anything like that. I'm just saying he's a guy that they kind of bumblefucked up to the top. He never really had a sustained run or built any momentum. He just kind of did things like the Gladiator gimmick and the British Invasion and London Brawling with, God, what was his name? Well, Nigel McGuinness, but Desmond Wolfe, that was his TNA name. He had the tag team with Joe, he had the spot in the main event Mafia, and all of it was just sort of like a touch and go, start and stop, you know, just kind of meandered and bumblefucked his way upwards. He didn't really have a sustained run or really got his footing and built a strong foundation to ultimately get him to the main event level. He just sort of meandered and bumblefucked his way to the top. There's the best way to put it. So that's not really his fault. It's just you got a weak sauce world champion with a devalued #1 contender on a show that has no life to it. And that's the state of things. But I did want to talk about MVP. I didn't really get a chance to talk about it last week with my WrestleMania video and my Godzilla video, both ready to go up, but MVP was revealed as the secret investor, which I think is the 10th time TNA's done that angle. But while the surprise or the reveal wasn't as bad as, say, the Tito Ortiz reveal from last year, and boy, was that a failure. What was it, August 8th? that was pretty bad. One of TNA's bigger failures. A washed-up MMA guy is your big surprise. But MVP is at least a wrestler, and at least they crafted and presented it in a way that it's not terrible, I guess. I mean, yeah, he was just a... you know, MVP was never a big star or anything, but at least they kind of crafted something to present him in a way that's not terrible, I guess. I don't know. It's not the worst thing TNA's ever done. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But as I've said before, MVP was never one of my favorites, and I never really saw the appeal in him, and he was one of those internet favorites that I just sat there and looked at him and was like, I don't see it, and I never saw it, and when he ultimately fizzled out in the WWE and got released, I wasn't surprised. I just didn't see much of a long-term future with the guy. But he's the secret investor in TNA now, and that is not going to make me excited for TNA's product or make me want to watch on a regular basis. If they got CM Punk, that's a guy that would make me tune in. Granted, you're taking a great talent like CM Punk and you're inserting him into a show that really doesn't have much going for it right now, so it probably wouldn't work out in the long run, but at least it would, CM Punk going there would get my attention. MVP does not. And even the American Wolves, I'm like, yeah, they're probably the best tag team that you could get, they're the best tag team on the market right now, pretty much by default. But even them going there, it's, you know, who the hell are they going to work with? Bad Influence, the Bromans, yeah, not a whole lot for them to work with there, so there's just not a whole lot going on. The roster is so depleted, and it's just impossible to think of, you know, what possibilities for matches can you get out of the Wolves, or anybody that's on their roster. It feels like you got a bunch of guys I don't care about, and a bunch of TNA originals that, you know, they've all wrestled each other already multiple times, so there's not a whole lot of freshness there. So, which is actually the good part about AJ leaving, is that it's like, okay, it forces you to try something different and build new stars or whatever, but I'm looking at the roster, I don't see anybody with any kind of big potential. I just don't see it, and MVP's certainly not it, and you know, the American Wolves are being put in a division that's a tag team division that's pretty weak, so there's just not a whole lot there. So yeah, that's basically my take on MVP. There's not much there. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about WWE, specifically the use of the new Age Outlaws while we're on the topic of tag teams, and why I hate them, and why they're really hurting the show in my eyes, and why they really upset me, and I'm going to complain about why can't I have the things that I enjoy, why can't I have nice things. I was really digging the WWE's tag team division. You had the Shield, you had the Wyatts, you had the Rhodes Brothers, you had the Usos, you have the Real Americans, and you still have all of that. For the most part, it looks like they might be breaking up the Real Americans, but you had like a pretty solid tag team division with depth. You had your jobber teams, you had your middle ground teams, and you had your top tier teams, which would be like the Shield, the Wyatts, and the Usos. All of that got thrown to the wayside just to put the belts on the Outlaws. Fuck you. I mean, seriously, fuck you. I hate that. I hate that. And I remember the second video I ever did, I made fun of both WWE and TNA for their recent string of champions. Kane was made the World Heavyweight Champion in 2010, and this was not fresh, exciting, masked, awesome Kane. This was bald, you know, uninteresting, boring, devalued, past his prime Kane in the midst of a terrible angle with Undertaker that nobody really cared about. So him being the World Heavyweight Champion just made me groan, and sure enough, it went nowhere, and there was no purpose to it. Yeah, Bret Hart winning the U.S. title, which, whatever. I even said it then, he's a 60-year-old man that can't bump. What's he going to do? You can't get a payoff from that. Because he can't drop the belt. He's going to have to forfeit it because he can't have a match where he loses the belt. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And you're just feeding a guy, and granted it was The Miz, but you're feeding a guy to the past generation for the sake of a feel-good moment, but at the expense of the future, or building any kind of future. And have they done anything with the U.S. title since then? And I don't know. I just hate that kind of stuff. And TNA had just put the tag titles on the Outsiders, Hall and Nash. Oh, I'm sorry, they were the band. The band. Great idea if there ever was one. Hall and Nash winning the tag titles in 2010 so long after their relevance had expired, and so long after them being cool was even an entertainable idea, they win the tag titles. And yes, we got old and fat Scott Hall and old gray Kevin Nash winning the tag titles, and it just makes you look pathetic. It makes you look stale, like you're stuck in the past, like you don't have any fresh ideas, like you don't know what to do, and it's done at the expense of the talent that you have. Like I said, with the Outlaws, you have tag teams to build the division around. There's no reason for them to be winning the tag titles 15 years after they were last relevant. And the excuse for it, the defense for it, and it was the same defense that people used for the Outsiders, where it was like, oh, but look, they're going to put the belts on the machine guns, and that's going to be the payoff. And I'm like, well, yeah, the machine guns better win the belts, but I'd rather see the machine guns win the titles off an awesome team like Beer Money. Which is ultimately what happened because Hall fell off the wagon again. And we got, oh no, what a shock, we got that Beer Money Machine Gun series, which is one of the best series of matches TNA's ever put on. Crazy idea. And here people are saying, well, the Usos are going to win the belt, so it's okay. They better win the belts. I mean, in that situation, if they're doing Usos and Outlaws, I'm like, the Usos better fucking win, or else I mean, that's bullshit. But I'd rather see the Usos beat an established awesome team like the Shield, or like the Wyatts, or like the Rhodes. Why couldn't you have them win the belts off the Rhodes? People say it's like, oh, well, that'd be a face versus face match. They do face versus face matches all the time. Why is that a problem? Why can't the Usos be the top contenders and go up against the face champions? Why can't you do that? I don't understand why that can't be a thing. And if they want to do Cody versus Goldust, wouldn't them losing that match be a springboard to ultimately doing a Cody and Goldust match where one of them turns heel and they set up the match for WrestleMania? I'm just throwing ideas out there. I don't know. But, I mean, if you wanted to do Cody and Goldust, that could have been your avenue to do that anyway, while also putting the belt on the Usos. But them winning off of the Outlaws, it's just like, well, okay, yeah, they're going to get the belts, but it's not going to be as grand as it should be because they're winning it off two old guys. And yes, they look very old, especially Road Dogg. And that cage match they had with the Rhodes last week was so ordinary. I mean, they literally had an ordinary tag match inside of a cage, which I hate that tag team rules apply in a cage match. It just bothers me. And granted, I know there was a Beer Money Machine Guns match that did that, and I know AMW and Triple X did that, and they were big Six Sides of Steel, but they managed to make it work and make the match awesome in spite of that. But when you're having just a regular tag match inside of a cage, it really defeats the purpose of the cage, which is supposed to be containing the hell of the chaotic nature of what's going on. That's what it's supposed to do, while also keeping interference outside. But they just had an ordinary tag match inside of a cage, except for one spot, which was Cody's big moonsault. And, again, nice catch, Road Dogg. Nice catch there. Way to catch Cody on that. And, Goldust sold, which also helped, but it was still a painfully ordinary match. Because, the Outlaws have their formula, and that's it. And that's the thing with the Outlaws that people don't seem to get, but I do, because I was there during the time when they were most over. They do the same thing every week. They never had a prime. They had a shtick. They played it spot for spot, bit for bit, word for word, every single week. And by mid-'99, everybody was pretty much tired of it. And it was like, okay, can we move on to something different? And when the tag team reigns moved on to teams like Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys, the Outlaws were not missed because the well had been run dry on them. Because what else can you do with them? It's just, it's the same song and dance every week, and they never changed it. Yeah, they were over, but you can only get so much mileage out of that, especially if you do the same thing every week. And they did the same thing to Too Cool and Rikishi. It was, dancing fat guy, funny, the song and dance and everything. It's funny, but not when you do it every week. And by the end of 2000, Rikishi's heel turn was a necessity to extend his life in the WWE because the Too Cool thing had really run its course. And in 2004, when it was Rikishi and Scotty doing the same thing, nobody gave a shit because it was so played out and so dull and so boring. But WWE loves to do that. They love to do the same thing every week. Funkasaurus, it got over for about 2 weeks, and then when it's the same thing over and over again, it's boring. Fandango. They could have done so many interesting things with Fandango. I defended him, and I thought that there was potential there. But not if you do the exact same thing every week. It turns out the Jersey crowd singing the song and doing the dance was the worst thing that ever happened to Fandango because it just kind of locked them into, oh, well, that's what the people want, so we'll just do that every week. And it prevented them from doing anything creative with Fandango, and sure enough, he's a stale act now. But that's the Outlaws. They're just a stale act, and sure enough, they came back. They got their nostalgia pop. They win the belts for God knows what reason. And they just do the same thing every week. The commentators tell the same exact jokes with them. And that's it. That's the Outlaws. That's their whole song and dance, and that's their act. And they are so trapped in the 1990s that it's pathetic. It is beyond pathetic. They look so dated and so old and so stuck in the past. It's the uncoolest thing imaginable, and it's a shame that it had to come at the expense of what was a really good tag division. But you've got, the Shield's breaking up now. The Real Americans look like they might break up. I'm upset that they broke up the Primetime Players because I don't see any singles potential in Titus O'Neil or Darren Young. And I thought the tag team was at least a platform for them to be funny and show off their personalities. Titus O'Neil is a naturally funny guy. Not much of a worker. He's pretty much just a body, but you put him in that tag team and you do the dance and you let him just say funny things in the middle of a match. That's about as good as you're going to get out of Titus. And I think he's a naturally funny guy. And at least in the tag team, it gives them something to do, and it provides more depth for the tag team division. So I think there was a benefit to having the Primetime Players around. But nope, not anymore. They're broken up, and I don't think Titus is going to go anywhere. I see a lot more potential in Titus as a mid-card, low-card tag team comedy act than I do as him getting a singles run as a monster. I just don't see it working out for him. So yeah, it looks like this great tag team division we had is kind of on the downside now, and it doesn't help that the Outlaws have the belts, and that's disappointing because I was really enjoying the tag division. It was the best part of their show. But yeah, I can't have nice things apparently. And even if the tag division stayed okay, the fact that the Outlaws have the belts just pisses me off because they shouldn't be the champions. I don't care. And I guess it pays to be Triple H's buddies. I don't know. I don't know. And yeah, that's it. They haven't even made that part of the story. It looked like they might, but they didn't really do anything with Triple H helping out his buddies and getting the Outlaws the belts. They didn't even really do anything with that. So what's belts? I don't understand. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't make sense. And I hate old things that are past their prime. And this is where I give Shawn Michaels and Goldust credit. If Goldust had come back and started doing the same song and dance and acting like he was just as fresh as he was back in '96, I'd have laughed at it because it would just be pathetic. But he came back and did this angle with his brother where they stood for the honor of the Rhodes family, and he wanted to help his brother get his job back. I can get behind that. An emotional story and creating a bond between two characters, I can get behind that. That's cool. And Goldust is working harder now than he ever has. I mean, if you watch his matches, it's like, Jesus, Goldust. I didn't know Dustin could do half that stuff. So he's working even harder, and instead of acting like the character is just as fresh as it was 15 or close to 20 years ago, they're doing something different where it's more of an emotional bond with his brother. And I can get behind that because it's different and it has an emotional tie that makes sense to me. So that's fine. I have no problem with Goldust being a tag team champion or doing what they did with the Rhodes brothers. No problem at all. Shawn Michaels, when he came back in 2002, if he'd come back and acted like he was just as cool as he ever was and I'm still the Degeneration X guy, no, you're in your 40s and you're a dad and you're a born-again Christian. It just doesn't fit you anymore. It doesn't happen. You're a redneck now, and I'm not bashing him for those things. I'm just saying him trying to play Mr. DX with all that going on, it just wouldn't fly. It wouldn't be natural. It wouldn't make any sense. And, of course, when they did do that stuff in 2006 and 7 and 8 and 9 and did all their fucking DX reunions, it was pathetic. It was really kind of pathetic. And it was just sad to see two 40-year-old dads try to act cool and like they were the most cutting-edge thing on the show. And the show actually reflected that was somehow true. It was just sad and pathetic, and it was even sadder when they were making fun of other guys for being uncool, like John Morrison and The Miz. It's like, oh, look at what they look like in high school. They're such nerds. I'm like, yeah, well, at least Morrison looks cool now, which is more than I can say about you long-nosed bastard, and Shawn Michaels with his lazy eye, and they both look like they're old and in their 40s. And that's the thing. The New Age Outlaws got over by making fun of old people like Honky Tonk Man and the Legion of Doom and Mick Foley and Terry Funk, who weren't, Mick Foley wasn't that old, but they were making fun of like the old guys, the old generation. That was how they got over. Shawn Michaels, I remember King of the Ring '93, he made Jurassic Park jokes about Hulk Hogan. and you know, made fun of the old generation and the old guys, and we're the new hot thing. You're the dinosaurs now, okay? And it's really funny how that's turned around. Like, the young, fresh, exciting guys that made fun of the old generation, they are now the dinosaurs, and they are now the old generation that's getting in the way of the fresh, hot acts. Give me the Shield. Give me the Wyatts. Give me, you know, even the Rhodes Brothers. I'll take them. The Usos. The Real Americans. Give me those acts. Those are the ones that I want to see carry a tag team division in 2014. Not the fucking Outlaws. No. Just no. And it speaks volumes. You know, the Shield and the Wyatts, to me, right now, is the hottest thing in the company. It's the best thing the WWE has going. And when I preview Elimination Chamber, I'm going to elaborate on that even more, but it's my favorite thing to watch on the show right now. So that really highlights what I'm talking about and what I mean by fresh and exciting things. So the Outlaws just aren't it, and I've rambled enough on this, so I got to get back to work, actually. So hope you all enjoyed this video. I'll probably have another one up before the weekend is over. I have a long weekend, what with President's Day, so I'll probably get a video up by Sunday or Monday, so because, you know, I actually have the time to do it. So that's all I have for now. Hope you all enjoyed this, and hope you all enjoy your Valentine's Day. I forgot, it actually is Valentine's Day, but all of my plans got canceled because I'm stuck inside because of that fucking snow. But hope you all have a good Valentine's Day, and I will see you all the next time I post one of these, so stay tuned.